of my resistance, I know that I am blessed. In the shadow of a history that I don't understand, there's a seed of hope, a seed of love, a seed of wholeness that belongs to everyone. I call on spirit, I call on love, I call upon the holy strength that never leaves me alone. Cleanse my thinking, right my heart, restore my faith to the knowing that we never are apart from your love. In the midst of my resistance, I know that I am blessed. In the shadow of a history that I don't understand, there's a seed of hope, a seed of love, a seed of wholeness that belongs to each of us. So pour your love over me, drown me in your grace, deliver me from my old ways. Pour your love over me, drown me in your grace, deliver me all from my old ways. In the midst of my resistance, I know that I am blessed.
Good morning. I'm so happy to share with you this morning. And I think I feel better than the last time. And the only thing that I can see in front of me is the camera. But I know many people are behind the camera. I know my lovely community is there. And I know all of us support each another. And what I honor this morning is to the people who is taking care of the technology, the amazing miracle that they're doing, that even though we're not together, even though we're not on touch, we're still connected. And thanks to that technology. And also, I would like to share with you this morning the theme of the month, the enchanted spirituality. And we are talking about freedom. And I think it is really hard for many of us think in that word in this moment, because our life changed, totally changed. So we're not doing anything in the same way that we used to do. But even though beyond these circumstances, we can be happy, we can be together, and we can feel free if we choose live like that. And also, I know something, we don't have many answers over there, right? We have doubts, we have questions, but I know we are guided for this wisdom spirit, we are guided. And only thing that I know in this moment, that something good, it will emerge. I don't see right now how, I don't see when, but I know I'm divine guided. And I think all of us is kind divided. And we need to center in that and wait in peace, in love, that these circumstances is gonna pass. We don't know when, but it will. And in this moment, I invite you, wherever you are right now, if you're in home or wherever you are right now, I invite you to close your eyes and get into the meditation. And invite you to breathe deeply, getting in connection with our center, knowing that the peace and love is right here, right now. Nothing to worry, anything can distract us in this moment. Breathe in peace. Y es en este momento que reconozco una sola mente, una sola vida. Y esa vida es Dios. Y sé que estoy unida a esa fuente inagotable, unida a la salud perfecta, aceptando como mi única verdad la salud, la unidad y el amor. And so it is. Amen.
This song is called There Is Only One. There is only one presence and its love. There is only one. It's sacred and it's peace. And it sings as the wind through the trees. It shines as you and as me. There is only one sharing in its light, and I'm feeling it right now in my body. It's my heartbeat. It's my guide as I move through the world. There is only one bringing life into this world. There is only one. No borders, no separation between us. And we feel through the storms and the fight that our hearts are connected in light. And the spirit that birthed all our names planted seeds of forgiveness to heal any pain. There is only one. There is only one. There is only one. There is only one. No matter the color, no matter the race, whatever the journey, however the pace, Whichever the God, we all are the same in love. When we love, there is only one.
Thank you so much, Lynda. That's beautiful music. Did you write that yourself?
I did.
Wow, impressive.
Thank you.
I love how your voice is coming through your speaking and your music. So thank you for being present with us today. I love your little backdrop there too. It's very goddess-like. So
it's a work in progress. New times.
All right. Well, blessings to you. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So welcome, everybody. Such a blessing to be here with you today. I have a new topic today, but first of all, I just want to talk a little bit about the community. When you talk about congregation, the word congregation means to come together. To gregate means to come together as a flock. So as a gaggle of geese, or as a flock of sheep that we gather together. I don't know about you, but I really miss the time that we come together and gather. So we are doing this event on Friday night. If you feel comfortable coming, please do so. And if not, join us on Friday night for just the Facebook and YouTube that will be broadcasting just like we broadcast now. So last week I started a new series on untethered spirituality. And this week I want to talk about the freedom of hope. It's interesting because I heard a story about a minister who was working with a horse trainer, and he wanted to have, as he rode the horse, he wanted to be a spiritual experience. This horse trainer said, okay, I have this horse for you that is on your commands, that you'll remember, that have a spiritual experience. So when you want to go, you simply say, Lord, there's hope. And when you want it to stop, you say, amen. Just real quickly, amen, and it'll stop. And he goes, oh, that's amazing. How'd you do that? Oh, well, I train horses. So the minister got up on the horse, and so just first of all said, Lord, there's hope. And the horse started going away. And then he said, that when he wanted to stop, he said, amen. Just he went a few feet and there was amen. And then he said, okay, Lord, there's hope. And he started going again a little bit faster, He goes, amen. And it just stopped. He goes, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. So he wanted to go further. So he said, Lord, there's hope. And the horse took off galloping down through the forest, and suddenly realized he was nearing a cliff. So he went, whoa, horse. And then he goes, oh, that's right. Amen. And stopped right before the cliff, just right looking down over the cliff. And he goes, Lord, there's hope. So sometimes our hope runs out. Sometimes when we have hope, especially in this time when we are sequestered, when we are challenged with racial divides in this nation, when there doesn't seem to be movement in Congress to support any kind of efforts towards immigration or police action, police treatment of people, particularly of minorities, or of the racial divides economically. There's a lot of discussion, and and lately when the COVID numbers, we were doing for a while, we were going lower and lower, and we were lessening the curve, lowering the curve, but then suddenly recently they spiked. Our hope can run out sometimes. We can be depressed and devastated and disconnected and give up. And what I want to suggest to you today is that hope is something that, if we base it on expectations of a specific thing, and when that thing doesn't happen, then hope can run out. But if instead we base it on something that is more sustainable, on the knowingness within us on a faith, on a trust that good things are happening, that wonderful things are happening through us, then that is more sustainable in this way. I know that the earth right now has taken a little breath for cleaner air and cleaner water with our pause. But now as I don't know if you've noticed, Michelle and I went into Marin County yesterday and the day before, and traffic has picked up. So we're starting to get that buzz back, and yet just like that, and just like racial divides and political divides and emotional divides, and that's within ourselves as well, that if we find a deeper sense of ourselves, then we can find this hope. We can find a knowing. We can find a faith within ourselves that we can build. Not based on something that is out there, but something that's based in here, a knowingness. Ernest Holmes, our founder, really didn't like the word hope very much because he thought it was tenuous, flimsy. And he preferred to talk about knowingness within us. And I understand what he's talking about, because when I have that knowingness, that's much better than hope. But sometimes I have trouble finding that clarity, particularly when I've been disappointed, or when something happens that doesn't fit my vision of what I think the world's going to be, when my expectations are not met with reality. I've always said, every time you try and argue with reality, you lose, because the truth is what it is. And yet, even if we accept what is, if we know the greater truth that's coming through us, hope can bridge the gap to our knowingness. Sometimes to go from zero to full faith and full knowing is too far. So it's hope that can build the steps towards knowingness, towards trusting the good and the God. And I tell you, when I use the word, it's really not a trust in God, because that would suggest that there's a God out there that's coming to rescue us or bringing us that which we seek. And the truth is, it's a trust of God, or of our good that's within us, that needs to open us up in this way. That in this way, hope becomes a noun and not a verb, not something that's being done to us, but it's a faith and a hope we know in our body, mind, and spirit. That it is an opening to possibility. And perhaps we need to give up trying so hard and allowing just an openness and a willingness, knowing that there's a good, knowing and trusting even when the world doesn't look like we think it's supposed to look like, or like we think it needs to look like this, or we imagine it to be like this and it doesn't match it exactly. We still trust in this. Alan Wolfelt, the grief and loss expert, talks about hope is not something that will just passively float into our lives. Instead, hope will enter when we create it consciously to bring it in each day. So we choose hope over fear. We choose hope instead of despair. We choose hope instead of apathy. And it is this that we can find a greater sense of our beingness, a greater sense of life, that we see and experience that which is right in front of us. But if we are in a hopeless place, we miss opportunities. So I have an acronym this morning. Let me get to that screen. All this technology here. So the acronym for that I have for hopeful is healing opportunities, which is the H and the O, perspective, which is the P, and then experiencing the fullness of life. And so let's talk about this idea of a healing opportunities first. That when we allow healing to happen, when we at least open to the possibility of healing happening, then it does happen. In this time of life that's slowed down a little bit, we're doing less activities out in the world, it's not too late to take advantage or to continue this time of allowing healing to come through us. It is Spirit's nature within us for healing and wholeness and creativity and joy to come through us, but it is our mental state of despair, of hopelessness that can get in the way of that. So we allow this expectancy of good to come through us, not knowing exactly how it is, because that's the way our hope is dashed, in specifically thinking it is going to be this or that. The suffering that Buddha talks about from our attachments. So we untether expectation that way. We untether any hidden beliefs we might have. We are willing to be mindful and find the healing and the forgiveness and the remembering of our spirituality, of our spiritual beingness. This hope that I'm talking about is built on gratitude and a sense of purpose and passion channeled in the things that we can do in any given moment. I think of it as those of you here in Northern California have seen buildings that have been retrofitted. So it was once a building that was that wouldn't sustain a large earthquake, that would rumble or it would crumble when a lot of shaking happens. If we can imagine this to be our lives, we've gone through a lot of shaking and trembling and confusion and doubt. And our house, our consciousness is retrofitted if we're willing to have an inner strength, the inner beams that you've seen in buildings that have the sustaining ability in earthquakes. But what's interesting about the way engineers design retrofitting, it's not a rigid structure. If it was too rigid, it would still crumble and break. It has some moving, some flexibilities like a tree in the wind. And so we build this inner strength within us, and the flexibility is that we don't know exactly how Spirit's going to show up in our lives, but we know it is going to do it. It's not necessarily going to be this or that, but we know it's coming through, and we look in expectancy, knowing the miracles, knowing the good, knowing the great is coming through us, that we experience the little and the big miracles in our lives, the gratitudes, the love, and the joy in the little and the big ways. And when we can't find ways to build that strength, we can borrow that strength from other people. People that hold this knowingness, our practitioners here at the center, know the truth and can know it for you when you can't know it. To bridge your hope to that place of knowing, and they hold it. And that's the power of prayer. A simple request to prayer, and the practitioners are on it, or to develop a prayer relationship with a practitioner, to develop a long-term or short-term that allows you to discover some of those hidden beliefs, those hidden perspectives that keep you from knowing this greater hope and this greater knowingness within you. So borrow it if you can't find it yourself. And the next thing I want to talk about is perspective. So we have the H and the O of hope, and then P is perspective. So Michael Singer, in his book on the untethered soul, talks about the observer self. And other teachers I've been a part of and other writings talk about this observer self. And it's so powerful that we are not the thoughts in our head, but we're the part that is able to see or listen to those thoughts. The step back from our drama of our lives, of our concerns, of our worries, of our fears. We step back from it, and when we're able to step back from it, we're able to notice that it doesn't have any power over us. We still have those fears, no doubt, but it doesn't have power over us. And that is the power of this stepping back, of this unattaching, untethering ourselves from this self that is a false self that helps us function in the world. But we develop the spiritual practice of reflection, of asking, of curiosity, of opening, of mindfulness, and it allows us to develop a perspective that is not detached. It is still a feeling part of ourselves, but it just takes a step back. When Michelle and I went to Marin County on Thursday, it was actually our anniversary, our 9th anniversary. And I had planned something on that day without her because I thought she was going to be in the Netherlands visiting our grandchildren in July. And with the travel ban, she wasn't able to go. So I said, well, I'm officiating a wedding on that day. She's fine. I'll go with you and we'll have a day and stay overnight in Marin County. And so I didn't know this area, this couple, they were going to have a big wedding. But they decided to have a smaller wedding, very small, just 2 witnesses and myself, so a total of 5 people. And it was in an area called Trojan Point. So this is, if you've never been to this place, it's on top of Mount Tam, or on one peak of Mount Tam. And it is amazing because from the perspective of on top to your left, you can see Sausalito, and different areas there on the bay there in Marin County. And to your right, you can see the Pacific Ocean. And straight ahead, you can actually see San Francisco. And, here, if you're in San Francisco, it's this huge city with skyscrapers and busy traffic and cable cars and tourists. And yet from a distance, and here's a blown up version of it because you can't quite see it, from a distance, you can see how San Francisco is. And I just thought how amazing this is. This is like our observer self, that we're away from the hustle and bustle that is there, that's part of our mind, that we can see and allow this, be connected with this. And additionally, this is the view out to the right towards the Pacific Ocean. And this is where the wedding was. You can see we are rather small figures there on the crest of the hill that overlooks the ocean. I think on a clearer day, you can even see the Farallon Islands from there. But also, they're talking about observer self doesn't mean that we're not participating in life, because a closer view shows the actual wedding and the beauty of Caitlin and Tyler and their wedding. And it was a beautiful day and a beautiful wedding we were able to do, even if it was at a distance that we were doing it with. And just allowing this fun, that doesn't mean that we are not present, that we are not, like I said, not connected. To be unattached doesn't mean detached. In fact, we can be more connected because we don't let the drama of life get in the way of our direct recollection, our memory of a spiritual understanding, a consciousness, because we rest in that place that is the higher power, that we recognize that it is spirit itself that also is this observer self that we connect with, that holds a truth, not that there is a entity that is spirit, but it is a consciousness that holds all of us in this place. We tend to, particularly in this center, we tend to focus on the positive. We don't want to dwell in the negative thinking. We don't want to think too much, but there is a place for a balance to feel the losses. And I tell you right now, when we try and find that balance, if anything, many of us are tipping too far the side of the fear and despair. And although I'm talking about it lightly today, I know it's a tough time. I know hopeless and despair and fear are easier to find than positivity. And little things can set us off that we react to, that we hole up deeper and deeper into a place. We've been encouraged to stay inside our houses, but that doesn't mean to stay inside ourselves. I know right now there are very personal losses people we may know that have been affected by COVID, or just not being able to connect with other people in the way we used to have hugs, to have connections, to have eye to eye and see people's who they are and be closer to them. We have also put off things in our lives, family visits, weddings, even memorial services. I know that we have put off 2 in this community, and don't know when we're able to have them. That's hard, to put off life and still feel connected. I know this. But what you need to know is not yet does not mean no. And there will be a time when we'll be able to reconnect. And that Spirit is always present with us, goes nowhere. Wherever we are, Spirit is. I know the other thing that in this day and age when information is at the very doorstep of our lives, there's a temptation to overconsume information in an effort to control what is happening in our lives. The truth is we can't control everything or anything, perhaps. And balance can be found by taking in some of the news, but not to overconsume it, because that tends to lead us towards a negativity, towards a reaction, towards a despair. And we know that our response to life is the one thing we do have control over, so we can limit the amount of media, and how we respond to what media we have, what we respond to those around us, we do have control over. We can choose that which is positive, that which is loving, that which is joyful. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor, said that everything can be taken away from a person but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. That is what we can do. And we can also develop an empathy and awareness for other people, which includes being an ally for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. I know I've been through this. We're 2 different study groups I'm a part of, one with our community and one with Home Office, and just wanting to be aware of what I don't know. And it's interesting, during this time, I was thinking about Maya Angelou, who had a very difficult life growing up. She endured intense physical and emotional abuse by a family member. She was actually mute for nearly 5 years, didn't say a word. I can't imagine that now. She's such an elegant beauty and so articulate in voice and words. But a family friend mentored her and encouraged her to find her voice again. And she was introduced to Dickens and Shakespeare and Poe and other prolific writers. And she was touched with these philosophies and this artistic nature. And she was touched by the beauty of this. And so it was through her spiritual practice and through her writing, she found freedom. And yet she grew up in a time when she was still oppressed. So I'm not saying it was all perfect and beautiful, because she felt that as a Black woman, felt the oppression of the times that still continued even after her passing. I reread her poem this week, The Caged Bird, because it's always brought me inspiration, the words that are in that. And I remember from the refrain that I have read before, its beauty of talking, and it developed my empathy around people who are oppressed, who were oppressed in the past and are still oppressed today. And I read those words. A bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. And his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. And beautiful. And rereading it, I was touched. My heart opened with that idea. But suddenly, I tended in the past to focus on that part of the poem. And I totally somehow missed the other part. And I'll read you about that part. And I think I have a theory why I missed that. So it's about the free bird that is in contrast to the cage bird. So a free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. I missed that completely. And why? I think because I wasn't aware of my own white privilege. In my white privilege, I was that free bird that was waiting for the fat worms on a dawn bright and names the sky my own. And so how wonderful and hard and uncomfortable it is that I've had this perspective that I recognize as privilege, that although I had empathy for this caged bird, it was if I was separate from this bird, and I don't want that experience anymore. I want to fully feel that I am one with all. And I want to be aware of how my actions and my words continue to offend this oppression. I may not be actively oppressing, but I can add to this by my lack of awareness. So I choose to have perspective, and I choose to develop my ability to be an ally. My skills ally is not an identity, but it is a continued practice to learn from, continue to practice it in this way, and I choose to do that. So finally, in this building this hope that we have, the final E, experiencing, and the full, experiencing the fullness of life. And this is important that we continue to do, that we do what we can do in our lives, that what we are willing to do in terms of our risk factor, but also what we're able to do. So there's so many things we can do. We can create a ritual and a schedule in our lives for reflection, for meditation, for contemplation, for just a time to be. We can take part in activities to the extent we can while sheltering in place. I really honored Caitlin and Tyler for the wedding they were able to do. They were disappointed not to do the big wedding. They're going to do that next summer with friends. And it was important for them to get married now. So they created a way to create a beautiful wedding, a very simple wedding. They laid a rug out on this vista overlooking the ocean, and they were able to create a beautiful ceremony. So I honored them. And we can do that too. There are things we can do in the way we can do it. We can create art, collages of words, or playing with clay. It doesn't even have to look like anything, but what does hope look like for us? We can paint. What does a new emerging life look like in us? Just to create, spend that time in allowing that. Imagining the future we desire. Making future plans excite us, even though we don't know when it's going to be. By helping others. I was talking to somebody the other day that bought groceries for the elderly people in his neighborhood. Or perhaps it's reaching out and staying close in contact with the people we care about, either by video conferencing, letters. When was the last time you got a handwritten note or something? They're beautiful to do. People really appreciate them. Making calls, texting, keeping up with people, and by taking care of our bodies, our minds, and our hearts as one to create deeper social connections in every aspect of our lives and our soul. Because our soul is yearning for connection right now. It might not be able to develop the outer parts, but it can develop a deeper connection. I heard a story from a friend of mine who was jogging. Had usually jogged through this park that had a small lake there with a stream running by it. And every now and then when he would run by, he would see this elderly woman kneeling down by the pond there. And he noticed her and looked like she was at peace. They didn't want to bother her, and he was in the middle of his run. But one time his curiosity got the best of him, and he slowed down and came closer to her and said, I hope you don't mind. I notice you here quite often, and I just wanted to say hi and wondering what you're doing there. And then he noticed that there by her, there was a sort of a cage that had 3 turtles swimming in it that were unharmed. And she had another turtle in her hand. And she was gently rubbing it. And she said, oh, well, every Saturday morning I come down here and I sit by the lake here and kind of a quiet reflection. And I take these turtles, and the algae and the scum that builds up on their skin actually develops, can impede their ability to swim. And it can also corrode and weaken the shell over time. So I just scrub it off and then return them into the lake. And he goes, well, that's amazing. Surely there's lots of turtles that need this. And she goes, yes, there are. And I just want to sit here. First of all, it's a great practice for me just to be in the quiet by the lake here. And I just want to gently treat each turtle as if they matter. And my friend said, well, there's got to be hundreds of thousands, not millions of turtles. You can't get to all. Do you think you're really making a difference? And she turned to him and said, sweetie, what I know is if you ask this turtle right here, she polished his shell a little bit and returned him to the lake, he would say it mattered to him. And so it was with us that we need to take the time to clean off the scum off our shell, off our soul, and be in contemplation and be in curiosity, to develop empathy, to find the hope for healing opportunities, for getting a perspective and empathy, and then to experience the fullness of life in this way, in the little ways that open us up and make us more willing and able to do that. And we do that just one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, one awareness at a time. And we do what we can. So I want to honor you in what you're doing right now. And I also want to encourage you that if you need to borrow some hope, feel free to fill out a prayer request, connect with us, show up on Friday, continue to show up for our services, and that I know that we have strength here in our practitioners and our ministers that you can borrow our hope. So let us go to prayer. What I know in this moment is there is a truth, that it is Spirit itself within us and around us. We don't need to question that, no matter how the world appears, no matter what others say, no matter what the media says. We know the truth within us, and we just gently bring this forth and know this power and love that is within us. And from this place, we reach out to others, knowing that we make a difference. One turtle at a time, one person at a time, one breath at a time. That is all we need in this time. So for this, we are so grateful. And know it is so. And so it is. Many blessings. And now we go back to Lynda.
And so it is. surrounds me. From the wilderness of my mind, come my way, feel your truth, awaken to the brilliance that is you. It's a knowing feeling from the depths of my soul. Divinity is leading me home. All that I am is the glory of the Holy One. All that I am is the beauty of the universe. All that I am is ever-present love. So I live for this, and I breathe for this, all that I am. And quieting that voice that tells me I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I don't pray enough. Illumination of the path ahead reveals the freedom and the power to step into my now. It's a knowing feeling from the depths of my soul. Divinity is leading me home. All that I am is the glory of the Holy One. All that I am is the beauty of the universe. All that I am is ever-present love. So I live for this, and I breathe for this, all that I am, all that I am, all that I am is the glory of the Holy One. All that I am is the beauty of the universe. All that I am is ever-present love. So I live for this, and I breathe for this. So I live for this, and I breathe for this, all that I am, all that I am, all that I am, all that I am.
Thank you, Lynda. That was just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And thank you for being with us today. You've really given us added inspiration in all of it. So I appreciate that. This is the time in our service when we acknowledge those who have given us donations during the week, have mailed in, as well as those who've donated online. We appreciate all that. By the way, when you donate, if you put it in a cute little kitty card like this, it adds to the fun of it. So when you do that, but that's okay if you don't. If you do, Bill, hey, but we appreciate it all. Thank you. So we do, we say our affirmation. You imagine the donation that you've given online or the donation you've sent to us, and we simply say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is. Thank you so much. We also want to acknowledge those families who, this is a difficult time to continue to not only find things that stimulate your kids, educate your kids, but to explain to them about the different divisions we have across this country and in the world. So we just bless you. We bless all the children. We bless all the families as you raise your children. Even if you have adult children, we bless you. So we just raise our hand and say, we see you, we care about you, and we're here for you. Blessings to you. And then we have our community affirmation. So please repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. I am led by Spirit. I'm guided by wisdom. I am protected by love. I'm here to be a blessing. I am so grateful. And so it is.
Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, for being a part of this service. Know that you can go back and listen to YouTube videos of other times, as well as be part of our event this Friday night, either in person or virtually. Join us for the celebration as we begin to find new ways to have these in-person events. So as we go forward, we know the truth is in you. It's in all people, and that we scrub the scum off our soul to allow a greater expression, a greater revelation through us as us. Blessings to everybody. Namaste.